Greetings, my relatives. Bonjour, Tensei, Anin. I'm just so honored and blessed to be with you today to offer some of my wisdom from the last 50 or so years of working on the front lines of indigenization, rematriation, and eco-justice. And I'm going to offer you a slideshow and some poetic inquiry for our time together. And I invite you to heart along with me. That is, create something. Express what you feel. Express what shows up for you as I share these sometimes triumphant and sometimes terrible images of what it means to be a social activist, an artist, a healer, or as I call it, a heartivist, an eco-heartivist in the times that we're living in today, but also for my lifetime. So I also want to, before I head there, just want to open with a acknowledgement of the smudge burning, of the tobacco offered, of the fire here and water here with me, and for all of the ancestors joining us here today, and especially for the ancestors of the territory in which I currently reside, which is Mi'kma'ki, the unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people here in Nova Scotia, and for my own ancestors, which are originally from many different territories, but I was raised in northern Manitoba, the unceded territory of the Swampy Cree, and along the North Saskatchewan River in a small community of Rawls Island, where I was raised in community and within a subsistence lifestyle. So I bring some of those teachings in with us today. And I am currently working with a not-for-profit, Life as Medicine. And so I'm representing Life as Medicine here today with you. We were also here last year and really appreciated our time together. These are lived lessons learned on the front lines of indigenization, rematriation, eco-activism, and I am Fyre Graveline, the descendant of Norbert Maurice Graveline and Olive Therese Belfort. Today, we are heartfully sharing just a very small glimpse into the front lines of the work that I have been doing for the last 50 years, which I call eco-heartivism. We welcome you to witness, to witness, to be with us, to journey along, to art along, to notice difficulties, opportunities, resistances, resiliencies, to notice inside-out lessons, trickster tales of transformation, calls to action, to reconciliation. Today, we desire deeply to engage all of us in recognizing and resisting all forms of domination. All forms of domination are externalized through Eurocentric, patriarchal, racist, heteronormative, ableist, dominant, and still dominating systems and structures. All these forms of domination are internalized and embodied in ourselves and in peoples who hold and enact power over us. Now, many are invisibilized as common sense. They are intergenerationally embedded, living within our bodies, our DNA, muted, often unnoticed within our daily lived experiences. Reenacted within our relationships, resulting in our ongoing disconnection within Earth Mother. Change is inevitable, and change is continuously occurring. Mother Earth shows us that through her seasons, through the moon cycles, through the tides, through every process of growth. This is happening hourly, daily, weekly, monthly, yearly, intergenerationally, ecologically, and galactically. We know not all change agendas are responsive to social justice calls to action, or reflective of rematriation, decolonization, inclusivity, fluidity, or current ecological catastrophes. We know we will only remain sustainable in our eco-heartivism and in our lives together here as humans on Earth Mother in these challenging times by collaborating on change movements together, by bridging our commonalities across polarities and diversities through honoring respectful, reciprocal relationality. And this is a theme that I will return to. So this is a call to action, reconciliate action. We are calling upon all eco-heartivists, all of us, all here who transform through healing arts, to rise in all ways and reenact our rightful roles as creators and nurturers of life, as protectors and defenders, lovers of Earth Mother. We have responsibilities to ancestors before us, and more importantly, even today, to descendants, the generations now here and those yet to come. We all need to engage in truth-telling with our voices and our hearts, within our practices, schools, gatherings, and networks, our shared systems and structures. This is a call to reconciliation, to respond actively, directly, respectfully, and compassionately, to be aware of historical pains and ongoing injustices. Injustices that are lived, ancestral, collective, and ecological, that we name traumas. Also, to be aware that we also will want to honor the amazing resiliencies of all our relations, both our ancestral lineages and the beings of Earth Mother that continue to feed us in spite of all the harms caused. And some of you will recognize the eco-bricolage that I created for our last year's offering. As Indigenous peoples, matriarchs, two spirits, as eco-heartivists, we have lived lives of challenge and change. We know from our lived experiences that challenged authorities, colonizers, patriarchs, extractivists will personalize social, activist, eco-heartivist efforts. They will problematize and target changemakers. Reactions can include anger and avoidance, tears and terror, explanations and rationalizations, military and machine guns. Targeting is always distressful and triggering. Our intergenerational, embodied, collective trauma responses are awakened, also known as ecologically intelligent survival, resistances, and resiliencies. Fight, flight, freeze, fawn. Flight, fight, freeze, fawn. Day after day, after day, after day, lifetime after lifetime, triggered chronically, without resolution, produce harm, permanent damage. Tissues are destroyed, blood pressures are raised, immune systems are inhibited, multiple sensitivities, allergies, digestive distress, cancers are rampant within our communities. Flight, fight, freeze, fawn. Flight, fight, freeze, fawn. Day after day, after day, after day. We invite all of you, all of us, as eco-heartivists, to create a shield, a coat of armor, a protective element, a guide. And I offer you emptiness, a ripped collage. This is one of many of my shields, which was created at the Cata BIPOC studio in 2021 with Virginia Jehu. This is also one of my many COVID arts where I developed a technique called play, pray with foods or soul foods, working with coffee, beet, and turmeric, and onion in this one. And the shield is a response art, a reflection on recent events at that time in 2021 within my work, indigenizing arts therapies within a settler institution. First, a coffee pour, left over from breakfast cup, swirling around and letting run, contemplating brownness on white page, taking brush and catching drips and running jagged lines. Yes, that is more like indigenizing, not so smooth, kind of jumpy and sharp most times. Beet red jumps in next, encircling brown, a quick, jagged circle, then smoothening, running, melding within coffee brown. I am sensing into, out to, inner, outer struggle, daily, day by day, year by year, lifetime by lifetimes. Envisioning, imagining, creating a red healing circle wrapped around a white, onion-washed reality. Arts therapy roots, grounds, reaches deeply into unexamined, unacknowledged whiteness. Eurocentric psychotherapy, privileged, patriarchal, dominant and still dominating processes, structures, and people. We are circling, recreating, restoring, resiliently resisting, persisting, transforming. I am swirling and twirling all at once, seeing face emerging. My eyes are aching. Yes, my stuck tears are now onion streaming, mouth wide open, screaming. We see, feel, weight of whiteness overhead. White man's burden, now we carry. Once an imperial claim to fame and fortune, has now become mine, ours, to name, not a fun game. Washing remainder of page with golden yellow turmeric? I pray, we always know to root, ground, center in hopefulness, continuing to show up for and with our ancestors and our youth. We live on, surviving and thriving within our creations, knowing where we have been, who we are, and always wondering, how are we becoming one with Mother Earth? Hearing creations, co-collaborators speak, we have been quiet for so long. Now is our time to speak. We give voice for long silenced, for voiceless, ending mutedness. We have so much to say. Our time is now. We will get through together. Please listen, listen, listen. We will only get through together. Our lives, all lives matter. I'm now going to offer top 10 tips for sustainability as eco-hardivists, where I have been for the last 50 years trying to answer these questions. How do we keep going? How do we stay motivated to want to continue to be change makers? How do we sustain struggling momentum of multiple ongoing resistances and honor our bodies and our ancestral resiliencies? What does sustainability look like in the midst of all that happens to us and our relatives, to exhaust us, to keep us down, to redirect our minds, hearts, bodies, souls away from eco-harvest work and play? And I offer you one of my blueberry pours, reigniting the spark. Tip 1, let our passion find our legacy. And this is a ripped collage with watercolor. Of course, we all love light, want to shine, basking in sun's rays always. Of course, we dive deeply into ancestral pains. We all must welcome rains. Water runs in our veins, rises off rivers, falls from sky, breaks on shoreline, slips into hearts, shifts into ice, gleams on jungles, embraces mountains. Water is a source of wonder, beauty, curiosity, metabolism, life. Water is life. Water is sacred. To navigate shadows, you must dive deep, ride waves, flow. Look for light, spark, flame, passion. Seek third spaces, absorbing light on moving water, re-energizing resiliencies. Let our passion find and define our legacy, our gifts, our divine calling, our service. Tip 2, our ancestors love our hearts. We remember we are never alone in our struggles or our successes. We reach to our ancestors with our love and gratitude, our prayers, our tobacco, cloth, food offerings, our songs, dances, ceremonies, our hearts, eco-bricolage, homes, our laughter, and our tears. We ask for help, guidance, visions, and we receive from our elders and teachers, all our relations, every star, bird, butterfly, animal, leaf and rock, every living being is our teacher. And here we have one of my teachers done in coffee, turmeric, and beet, and blueberry. As Faith's spotted eagle, Lakota grandmother teaches, we pattern ourselves as Native people after nature. The animals, the birds, all of them, they were our teachers. So that's us. And we get that from Mother Earth, you know. Mother Earth has a sound, a mothering sound. And if you're real quiet, you can hear that. Everything on the land is a teacher. And one of my teachers is Wolf. And here is a ripped cloth. Wolf as ancestor. We are on a long journey when I glimpse on highway a large being splatted on road. Blood, guts, fur, not yet bones. My heart is in my throat. Stop! My voice a harsh whisper. No, I am told. Highway is winding, dangerous, too busy with traffic. Yet I know I must act for and with my relative. Large crushed lump of brown-gray fur in middle of highway calls. Yes, I insist. So we wind back. I jump out, tobacco in hand, and rush to assist. Wolf? Lying, tongue lolled out. With a mighty tug, I move heavy, bashed, breathless body to roadside and roll into ditch. I lay tobacco and pray for all dead on roadsides, carelessly named roadkill. Murder of all relatives is always minimized, especially on roadsides. Even women, highway of tears, murdered and missing, Indigenous women, girls, and Two-Spirit. Amazing. This time, no traffic rushed by until we were safely done. Yes, we know, once again, ancestors have our backs and our hearts. Tip 3, we are forest. We seek out collaborators, allies, in all times, spaces, and places. We root and ground our movements in rememberings of Indigenous peoples, Indigenous women's, Two-Spirits, Earth Mothers, long-term, cumulative resistances. Arms, roots, interwoven, standing strong together. We hold in our bodies, in our stories, in our hearts, painful histories of colonization, extractivism, with deep shadows, soul wounds of traumas still reverberating today. And we honor, embrace, and make visible in our hearts, our light, our interdependence, our role models, ceremonies, songs, gifts, stories, and languages of resistances and resiliencies. This piece is a 10 or maybe 13 now part series called We as Forest. It's with beet pour and coffee and bean paints. And this particular one is called Elemental. In We as Forest, in the gathering of allies, respect and reciprocity are always essential. We must be aware. Respect and reciprocity differs by tribe, territory, and geographic location. So ask. We begin by listening, focusing on what is needed and asked for, clearly negotiating respectful and reciprocal and understandable agreements. Honesty is always crucial. Walk your talk. If you say you are going to do something, then do it. If you are requesting input or advice, be ready to follow the directions and the suggestions offered. Be transparent about who will benefit or gain from any actions taken, and what are the potential risks. We must be constantly aware that both benefits and risks will differ depending on our social and cultural locatedness and geographic locatedness and our intersectionalities with other, how many intersecting bars of the cage of oppression are we confined by? So self-determination means offerings and asks, benefits and risks are to be defined by each collaborator involved. We all, every one of us, must commit to becoming a lifelong learner about respectful, reciprocal relationality. Tip 4. Expect challenges and to be challenged. In all of our work and play together, we are all still coexisting in dominant and still dominating colonial patriarchal systems. We need to recognize and resist when well-intentioned efforts at allyship are still hurting. Too many times, we, as Indigenous matriarchists, are left wounded and bleeding. Knowledge extractivism hurts. As Anya Thomas tells it, more often than not, state-led engagement strategies with Indigenous peoples have extractive under and overtones, in that they are not mutually reciprocal arrangements. Knowledge and practices that most align with Western ways of thinking are selectively extracted from the place, language, and people responsible for their generation, for their management and sharing. Containing, interpreting, and applying Indigenous knowledge in Western structures is a continuation of colonial practice and undermines the integrity and potency of the knowledge itself. And here is the print of the earlier blueberry pour I showed. And this one's called Mind, working on my own feelings of being knowledge extracted in a recent experience. This was produced in 2022. So continuing on the theme of expecting challenges and to be challenged, trust is earned. I call trust the T word. Through meaningful relationships over multiple times, spaces, and places. Trust requires speaking and listening honestly, thoughtfully, and heartfully, and requires actually following through on all commitments made, verbal and written. Elders, grandmothers, knowledge holders, wisdom weavers feel respected when necessary rides, helpers, and protocols and payments are arranged in advance. That we are deeply listening to them, not multitasking, note-taking, texting, not casually commenting, interrupting, questioning, arguing, or white-splaining. When we are inviting participation in collaborative change-making ways, rather than tokenistic or advisory. When we are financially generous, transparent, and accountable. When challenges, inevitable challenges, or difficulties arise, we can notice. Our settler norms of communication and business as usual dominating. When lived, intergenerational, collective, and ecological experiences of traumas are repeating, when we are cut off from our hearts, feelings, bodies, intuitions, voices, and ancestors, we know we are recolonizing or being recolonized, not decolonizing or indigenizing. We must always be attentive to what is arising that needs healing within all people and all systems. Tip 5, Trickster asks, whose comfort? We know some uncomfortable feelings and fears are always part of every unfamiliar experience, especially when we are either challenged by authorities or challenged as authorities. We must continuously reflect on common sense notions of comfort. That is, that comfort must be maintained at all costs. How far are we prepared to go to maintain comfort within and around us? Whose comfort level are we trying to adjust or accommodate to? Initiating and sustaining conversations and actions about decolonization, indigenization, social injustice, white supremacy, sexual violence, rematriation, heteronormativity, gender fluidity, diverse abilities, and climate catastrophe, among others, creates uncomfortable feelings for all of us, especially if we feel personally implicated. We remind daily lived experiences of oppressions do produce very deeply distressing feelings, and the consequences of remaining silent for us range from deep discomfort to death. And what about our descendants, our children and grandchildren, who are currently facing futurelessness, a very real possibility of imminent extinction, resulting from inexhaustible and unrelenting greed of already ridiculously wealthy extractivists? Youth, rightfully so, are deeply enraged When overwhelmed, frozen adults, those so-called in charge, fail to address or act on current injustices, especially our shared world eco-catastrophe. Tip 5, always take risks. Expect the unexpected. Be delighted in surprises. Be curious. Embrace difficulties as opportunities. Welcome unwelcomed. Those left out, silenced, marginalized. All growth and transformation relies on times, spaces, and places created when we give voice and visibility to ideas, practices, peoples, guides, elders that challenge what we expect. When all at oncenesses happen, synchronicities, coincidences mysteriously appear, we know we are guided. Be ready to laugh, be playful when trickster shows up, take risks, always expect unexpected. And here I am clowning in a life is medicine class that I recently offered. And that's a ripped collage that my head just fit perfectly into the crown with the little hairs coming out the sides. So a student just did a screenshot of that moment, which I love. Tip 6, when fear shows our edges, take a leap of faith. Trickster asks, why do some people show up, stand up, speak up, and some don't? I propose some possibilities. When we are overwhelmed, we shut down. Denial, self-medicating, helps us cope. When we do not feel personally or painfully affected, when we do not need to take risks, be uncomfortable, or not fit in. If relatives, peers within our immediate circle are not engaged, we are more likely to avoid involvement, to preserve existing social relations. Family, friends, and community members do not always stand with us when we're speaking out, even when in collective best interests. We have been and continue to be silenced, muted, disempowered, personally, ancestrally, collectively, and ecologically. Of course, we will have embodied fears of coming forward to speak truth to power. We can speak up anyways. We know our silence is taken as compliance. And when we are in settler, patriarchal, extractivist-dominated spaces, where decisions are being made for Indigenous peoples, women-bodied, two spirits, Earth Mother, speak up. Refuse to participate until more than token voices, first voices, heartfully expressed, are spoken and heard. Here's a ripped collage that I created when I was terrified at one point of activism I was involved in. It's called Humpty Speaks of Fears. But I am just an egg. And here's a quote from one of my students who learned to do activism in a course I was teaching. But you've got to say, what's important here? Is it important that something is done? That you take the social action? Or is it important to protect your butt? If you're too afraid to take any action because of protecting your butt, you'll never do anything. This is another ripped collage called Bones of Our Ancestors. I was very involved in the truth and reconciliation process. Two beings cross bridge over troubled waters, meeting somewhere in middle. Reconciliation can be sweet between those torn asunder. We wonder, must all acts of indigenization, decolonization, rematriation, reconciliation be gratefully smiled upon? Even if disruption, extraction of graves, bones, lands, languages, knowledges, livelihoods are never acknowledged? Some settle for recognition, good feelings, handshakes, personal gains. Rematriation is rooted in lands, bones, blood of ancestors. We call out for justice for all, silenced, murdered, dispossessed. Often those reconciling and smiling are loved. Those crying out, raging out for voice, justice, land back, resurgence are despised. Reprisals are inevitable. Tip 7, not surprising. Reprisals are inevitable and always painful. We know reprisals are very real and expected in all activism, all eco-artivism. We keep our focus on our responsibilities to our sacred bundles, to Creator, to Earth Mother, to our ancestors and descendants. We know we are obligated to continue to recognize and resist colonial power structures. We work and play and pray together to depersonalize inevitable attacks. Solidarity has always been essential for sustainability and our survival. Divide and conquer is still very much alive and well today. We know reprisals are always distressful. We keep our allies, elders, grandmothers, medicines, tobacco, smudge bowls, water blessings, ceremonies, songs, eagle visors, and response art journals close at hand. And as several elders have told me, we know we are making progress when the reprisals come. That someone has noticed. And here's a piece I did back in 2007. I am Buffalo Warrior. And just, this is tempera paint on paper, wall size. Many arrows shot from many directions, expectations, judgments, negativity, gaslighting, most deflect off my now more toughened hide. We try to put up positive face. Hope is our buffalo, our medicine shield. Our hearts, blood, spirits, souls are still hurting, still wounding. We continue, still walking, working, still wondering, when will colonial battle end? One-eyed seeing is always painful. And here's another one from our time of reprisal, tip 8, and this is much more current. I think it was 2022 as well. Tip 8, we never give up. And this one's called Hitting Glass Wall. And you can see on the image itself that there are some words there. And so we play fill in the blanks with the blackout tape that I put on the bandages that I put on the words that I didn't want to have in there. Being undercover in an unsettled settler space, mired in capitalistic, extractivist consciousness. Break a major story. Indigenize a program. Start a movement for social change. Have people say it went viral, was epic, groundbreaking, ahead of your time. We hit glass wall, are fired, laid off, are on stress leave, are sick because we're troubled, troublemaker, too much, too radical, too angry, too negative, too critical, too sensitive. Prove them wrong. Do it again and again and again and again. Never give up. Nope, we never give up. It's actually a line from the Life is Medicine theme song. And so our sustainability is key. We lean into hearting and earthing. And here's another buffalo image. I come from Buffalo territory. And here is Buffalo Warrior Rises Again. And in this case, it's a food print with coffee beet, turmeric, red willow, onion, and bean. After difficult encounters, we know to release energy through hearting, earthing, breathing. We seek eagle vision. We share story, connect, reflect, unfreeze embodied emotions. We survive day to day. We keep going. We continue to rematriate, to transform heartless, soulless, extractivist, colonial, patriarchal systems. Buffalo Warrior teaches sustainability is key. Always create times, spaces, and places to restory, nourish, and nurture. Be, believe, belong, become one together. We are safer, stronger in a herd, hearting, earthing, interdependence. Tip 9, hope, vigilance, and persistence are required to change. At times, we will backslide into paralyzing despair, hopelessness, helplessness, futurelessness. We continue to collaborate, to take positive steps. Hope and joy are revolutionary. We agree with Joanna Macy, settler, elder, feminist, activist, environmentalist, who for decades has been addressing catastrophic climate changes. She was asked in an interview, "Are there times when you think, oh no, this is impossible?" She replied, "Every day. And such times pass because we, Joanna and I, cannot imagine anything more engaging and enjoyable than addressing the most pressing issues of our times." And this is an eco-bricolage co-created at the BIPOC Emerge Sustainability Workshop this year. So tip 10, we start where we are. We take one step and then another. For myself, for Life is Medicine, rematriated eco-heartivism takes many forms. We can continuously create response arts to restore our well-being and make possible more sustainable, ongoing engagements in social change movements. We can share eco-inspired suggestions and creations with our relatives, with our partners, our friends, family, and community members, with our co-workers, educators, agencies, politicians, leaders, and funders, all working together and playing and praying to transform dominant and still dominating systems currently harming Earth Mother and all our relations. We can collaborate respectfully and reciprocally with all heartists and heartivists, welcoming all ages and stages, all cultures, all abilities, all income levels, all genders, and gender fluidity. We can offer land-based and virtual eco-heartivism workshops and open studios to nurture and nourish all beings, to share knowledges and restory our relationality. We can listen to first voice, the voice of lived experience, then advocate for and with artists for resources and services to fill identified gaps, lobby for changes towards healthier, more inclusive practices and policies in sessions, gatherings, programs, agencies and systems, training schools, and associations. We can educate, re-envisioning all curriculums to decolonize, to indigenize, to rematriate, to restore interdependence with Earth Mother in any and all levels of schooling. We can join existing eco-activist communities and introduce rematriated eco-heartivism in working and playing and praying together for change. We can facilitate open circles on rematriation, emphasizing the interweave between Indigenous resurgence, ending gender-based violence, social justice, and earth activism, showcasing local activist and eco-heartivist collaborations. We can write speak-outs, letters of protest, poetry, stories, and share our thoughts and our hearts with newspapers, magazines, social media, politicians, influencers, and schools. We can create and share video productions and memes on social media platforms. We can curate, install, advertise, host rematriation-themed eco-heartivist multimedia shows and multimodal performances and gatherings. We can generously support Life as Medicine, Circle of Indigenous Healing Arts, through attending workshops, hosting events, and donating for scholarship funds. If you wish to reach out for inspired conversation and support, contact us at info@lifeasmedicine.ca. We have many 2024 offerings coming right up. All offerings are collaboratively held learning and healing spaces with grandmothers, elders, ceremony, and arts creation. Opening January 27th, we have Healing Our Fragmentation, Reimagining Our Interdependence. It's 7 sessions, Saturday, day-long healing immersions based on medicine wheel and sharing circle teachings. It's a hybrid offering with Fyre, myself, and multiple collaborators. And the poster is called Unfrozen, and it's one of my many ripped collages on healing from trauma, collective trauma. Restarting in February of 2024, we'll be returning to our collaborative Eco-Vision, a space held with myself and Jean Tate. We have an Eastern door for allies and a Southern door for Indigenous. And registration is currently open at our website, www.lifeasmedicine.ca. In the spring, we'll have our offerings, the Me as Tree, We as Forest, which is a land-based eco-arts healing retreat for all ages and all stages, and that's April 19 to 22nd. Accommodations are on site, and we're here in Nova Scotia. We have in progress many other offerings coming up. They'll be on our website as they are ready to launch. And in progress, of course, is our 24-25 launch of our certificate, diploma, and master's of Indigenous healing arts. So stay tuned for enrollment information about that. If you are inspired to connect, if you're curious about our programming, you can reach out with asks for things that you need and also for offerings. Would you like to contribute something? Would you like to be a collaborator with Life as Medicine? You are welcomed to connect through info at Life as Medicine or through my inbox, which is Fyre at Life as Medicine. I want to thank you so much for this shared space together. It's hard not seeing you and hearing from you what your responses and reactions are. But I invite you, if you have created some art or a poetic inquiry from our shared space today, and you'd love to share that with me or share that with our team at Life as Medicine, please feel free to connect. And we'll put up on our webpage, hopefully, a inbox. We have a thing that you can connect and give feedback. If you wish to give some feedback on the session today, you can connect there and just note that it's for the World Art Therapy Conference session and that you'd like to give some feedback and share some art from your experience today. So my blessings are with you. My tobacco and healing energy has gone before this offering today, and I am very much looking forward to seeing the plants grow, the seeds flourish, and spring forth some medicines and some heartivism in all of the territories of the people who are listening today. Thank you so much. All my relations. Bye for now.